Hi, ThatPaulGuy. Okay, so originally what I was going to do was I was going to take a look at Halo Infinite on minimum specs. I know there's been a lot of people that are doing videos on minimum specs, but with it hard to get hardware and it just being really difficult, games are still going to be coming out. So I figured I would take a look at one of the more popular ones, or what was supposed to be a popular game, and see what it would take to play it. That changed because while I was doing that video, or near the end of that video, Battlefield 2042 went on sale. So I took a look at both of them. So the minimum specs on both of these are they're not too far away from each other, but we'll go ahead and we'll kind of break this down a little. First, we'll go over Halo Infinite. You have to have an i5 4440, or you have to have a Ryzen 5 1600. So I mean that's perfectly doable, and that sounds reasonable. 8 gig of RAM. You have to have an RX 570 or a 1050 Ti from NVIDIA. Now I don't have a 570 in there. I've got an RX 560, but I think it will still do okay as far as trying to test it out. The minimum specs on Battlefield 2042 and the recommended specs on 2042 are a little bit strange. And if you can't spot them, I'll go ahead and highlight them. But anyway, you're supposed to have a Ryzen 5 1600 or a 6600K, but the recommended specs say you can use an older i7 with 16 gig of memory. That's a little weird. I don't know, but anyway, I'll go ahead and show you what I have that I'm working with, and it's not too far off, but I think we can make it work. I've actually got a Core i5 4670. It's an RX 560, 8 gig of RAM, 500 gig hard drive, Windows 10, all the good stuff. So I think those specs are close enough that it's just enough off of each one that I think we can get a good minimum specs for, and we can kind of try this out. It's closer, a little bit closer on Halo, because all I have to do is step down and use the RX 560 instead of the RX 570. But I still think the 4670 and that 6600K are not that far off that I can get away with using that, and still we can see what kind of results we're going to get out of that. So the first one I ran was Halo. I did that, and the first thing I noticed when I started playing Halo is it took a long time to load. A very long time to load. I mean, a long time. Once you got into gameplay, it wasn't too bad, and the defaults on the video were a little bit strange because it wouldn't let you actually select full screen and anything other than 1080p. So you had to select a percentage of that resolution. You had to slide that scale down. So the best I could do, I tried to get all the way down to 720p, and I couldn't to do this testing. So I went around 900p or so when I was doing a little bit of testing afterward. But I started out on 1080p, low settings, and there was some stuttering, there was some tearing, and there was a little bit of hesitancy. It was a little bit difficult. In between rounds, it took a little bit of time loading up, but it wasn't horrible. And once you got into the gameplay itself was all right, and it was actually a fairly enjoyable experience. I was able to get some kills. I was able to complete missions. I actually ended up on a winning team, and things they actually went pretty well playing Halo Infinite. Now I am not the most experienced first-person shooter. I've played some on and off. But I had a lot more difficulty trying to play Battlefield 2042, but we'll get to that in a second. When I did try to resize the window on Halo Infinite, it did let me make a smaller window, but then I had issues that I couldn't get out of. And it happened more than once. So I don't know if it's a little bit of a driver issue or something I have to work out. But on that particular setup for that Dell Optiplex, it just didn't work out too well. I had to leave it in full screen. I could not get a 720p resolution out of it. But in either case, the 1080p or downscaled to about 900p, I was still getting between, say, 32 and maybe 36 or 37 frames per second, which is not great, but it's not horrible. It's not a horrible experience, and I was able to play and didn't have really any problems. Got into the game, like I said, I enjoyed it. So it wasn't much of a problem at all. Then I turned my attention to Battlefield 2042. This too took a long time to load. Now, probably not quite as long to load up as Halo Infinite did, but the gameplay was much worse. Now, given that, part of that understanding is that there's a lot more players, there's a lot more stuff going on, but still, you are only in one area at a time. And I tried to limit where I was to one section where I didn't have a whole lot of enemies and a whole lot of people running around. But still, it was trying to load in a lot. What really kind of caught me off guard is it seemed to take a long time to load and get ready without chewing up a lot of the processor power. So I don't know why exactly it took that long to try to do. But once I got into the game, this was actually much worse. Now the first a little bit on 1080p and it defaulted to low. There's a mission with crazy elves that was actually kind of fun, but I got killed rather quickly. But I was getting 30 to 35 frames per second. Wasn't too bad. When I got into a larger battle and there were more things going on, where Halo Infinite dipped a little bit, but not horribly, on Battlefield 2042, it was bad. And in some cases, it was so bad that I had some screen freezes, and it really, I mean, I did not get a single kill on 2042. And I'm not that great at first-person shooters, but I'm not that bad. And this was very, very difficult to play on these settings with minimum specs for 2042. So if I had my druthers, which one would I pick? Well, I think I'd rather have Halo Infinite. It was more fun to play. Even though I did have to wait a little bit longer to get into the games, it was more fun to play. I didn't have the problems with the overwhelming choices. The Halo Infinite did have some choices. There's a lot of flexibility, a lot of different gameplay, but 2042 almost seemed like there was too many choices to make. A very steep learning curve, and on minimum specs, it was just very, very difficult to play. So between the two of them, my vote's going to go for Halo, and I can't really believe that I'm sort of recommending a Microsoft product, but there you have it. And I actually liked it. Now, I did like the other Halo games too, but some of the earlier Battlefield games I liked as well. I liked Bad Company, and I liked a couple other things too. So, I mean, it wasn't as if I walked into this thinking, oh, I love one and hate the other. I like them both about the same. A little bit more used to Halo than I was Battlefield, but in any case, my honest opinion as far as gameplay with these two on minimum specs, Halo Infinite far outweighs Battlefield 42 right now. So that's all I got for right now, folks. I just wanted to get these in here. Like I said, it was originally going to be a video on Halo Infinite minimum specs, but when Battlefield 2042 went on sale, I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and compare the two of them and see what I thought. Or see what I think. Or do I think? Sometimes when both those brain cells get working together, dangerous things happen. It's really weird. So that's all I got for right now. If you liked the video, go ahead and throw a like on it. If not, throw a dislike. Do me a solid for the holidays. Throw a like on it, okay? And if you're not already subscribed, please do. Really, really trying to hit 500. I don't think I'm going to do it by the end of the year, but it would be really nice to get there pretty quickly. And until next time, I'm going to take a look at some other CPUs. We're talking about trying to compare some of these. The Ryzen 5 1600 came up in minimum specs for both of these games. So I think I'm going to test that against the... it's a Ryzen 3 Pro 4350G and see what we get when we match those two up against each other and see what happens. We're not going to test a video on it because obviously the 1600 doesn't have video. So we'll have to pick a video card that will allow both of those to kind of run free. But anyway, that's all I got for right now. So until next time, folks, don't forget to visit me on the other socials, and I will see you later.